Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Debbie West. I'm coming at you from my Hilton Head Garage studio. Believe it or not, I tried to get it cleaned up and it's about as good as we got today. So I'm just really excited to be here. You know what? Humanity is challenged right now. We've got some interesting days ahead. So on behalf of the National Art Education Association and our art tribe, I'm super excited to be here to kind of help where maybe my years of experience can guide you, give you some ideas to springboard from, maybe help your kiddos with some of the struggles that they're going through right now. So as I said, thank you for tuning in, and thanks for all that you're doing to be a part of Together We Art Better, because we really are bonding on a way right now that I don't know about you, but it makes me really honored and really happy and proud to be an art teacher. Okay, so here's what we got going on. Lots of stuff and somewhat of a limited amount of time to get it all done. First of all, I hope everybody got their packet. I have about a 21 page packet that is chock full of lesson ideas, rhythmongs, which we'll talk about in a minute, assessment ideas, a supply list to send to your kiddos. That I know that seems to be something that's going on in social media a lot right now is, you know, what do we do about getting us a good supply list to our kids? Better yet, supplies to our kids. So some ideas on things that they might already have in their house. The lessons that I selected for this presentation are lessons that I think all kiddos will be able to do from home, even with limited supplies. So we're gonna go over the supplies. And then I also have a little bonus stuff about visual journaling and a lot of links to resources and articles. So that's what we're gonna start off with. And by the way, Debbie West, been teaching probably now 25 years in the classroom and 3 years out of the classroom because I'm retired-ish, but I work with the Art of Education University, teaching online classes, doing some work for them, and started an educational consulting company. So the cool thing is now I get to take it outside of art world a little bit, and I get to go across the nation and teach teachers how to teach using project-based hands-on lessons. So no further ado, let's get back to the fun of making some art today. So the first thing you're going to notice when you go into this packet is a list of supplies. And I'm going to go through the supplies with you right now of just some of the, I guess, supplies that your kids probably, I'm going to assume, have. And then if they don't have it, maybe some other things that they could use instead. And we're going to start off with, ready? The scissors, the old alligator skizzers. Womp, 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 womp. We got our big ones, we got our little ones. I'm assuming that kids have these, but guess what? You should never assume. So let's say that they don't. Well, our job would be then to teach our kiddos perhaps how to tear, how to make a fold, how to tear on either a straight line fold, or maybe they want to keep that jagged line fold because at this moment in our lives are a little jagged. We're not really sure where they're headed. It's that unknown right there. But teaching our kiddos how to tear, just like that, they suddenly have scissors. So that's one thing. The other thing that I want to start off with is your adhesives. How are we going to get things to stick? I tend to like to do a lot of collaging and mixed media work. And I feel like a lot of times that's where our kids find a lot of success. So I have a whole list of things that could work. Obviously, we've got glue, and then we've got glue. You got the stick and you got the glue. And for most parents, they're probably going to like this because I don't know about you guys, but they don't get a dot of glue. It was a lot of glue. It doesn't really matter where they're coming from. And I did teach K-12. I taught 14 years elementary and then 10 years, actually 11, at the high school level. So they're not all that different. Kids are kids and they all love art. So let's say that they don't have any glue. So what's next? So we got tape. I'm a masking tape freak. We've got tape. We've got Scotch tape. I don't know about you guys, but all that, the rage right now, do I have it here? Maybe not. Is that wasabi tape the kids love? It's like the colored tape, and they can make their own wasabi tape by coloring up their masking tape. And how about staplers and safety pins and sewing kits, you know, that you get from a hotel, little needles, and brads are kind of cool because they can make things be held together. And if all else fails, there's honey, and there's chewed glue, and there's syrup, and then there's sap from trees. So I feel as though there's a lot of ways we can get kids' work to stick if we want to get real creative with it. Next up is magazines. I don't think that we can ever have enough magazines because magazines are full of imagery, and this is where we can really push our kids' creativity. Where they're looking through here, they're maybe looking for a prompt that you've given them or just colors and textures to create an interesting background. So magazines are cool. Junk mail, free catalogs. And then there is the whole idea of paper or a substrate, something in which they can do their art on. So let's say that these kids don't have any way of getting any paper. Money's tight right now. The last thing we're going to think about is getting paper for our kid to make some art with. I get it. So obviously my first thought would be a good drawing paper. Next, we've got copy paper. Regular copy paper works great, and if they want to go big, they can tape it or staple it together. They can even use sticky notes, right, to put it together. Maybe take a whole bunch of sticky notes and put those together. Let's see here, what else do I have? We have construction board. We have wood. Let's say that you go to like a little local junkyard and you find these scraps of wood, or you go to a Home Depot and find out if they've got any scraps of wood that kids can collage or paint or leave their marks on. That could work really well too. And then my all-time favorite, which I'm not going to dump all these out, but cardboard. Cardboard is king. I love cardboard. So to show your kids how they can tear it. They can tear the top piece of paper off, just like so. Oh my gosh, like that just already made me happy looking at this. Look, see that? The corrugated, yay. And then look at this right here. And then again, if all else fails, how about when they empty out their rice, they take this box and they cut it apart, and now they've got a great 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces and small pieces that they can make art on. Or how about if they trim off their soup label and turn it around and they paint on that and use that or the front of it to collage or to paint on top of too. So I feel like the sky's the limit for where kids can go to get their substrate to create on. Next up, we got our marking tools, right? I'm assuming that all of our kids have pencils. They've got drawing pens. There's markers, there's crayons, there's colored pencils. I mean, I've got all this in here. These are old crayons, been around forever. Oil pastels, always make me happy. And I know that at the moment, there's several companies that are donating supplies, to kids that really need it. So that's always a place to look as well. Sharpies, I like the Mr. Sketch because they smell good and they have a great chisel tip, so they mark really well too. Let's see here. What else do we have? Oh, we got some colored pencils, and we've got chalk, and we've got charcoal. So there's a ton of materials that they can use. They can even go outside and get sticks, right? And then they can think about the next thing are their paints. What kind of paints are they going to use? Obviously, watercolors are great. I don't imagine that a lot of parents are going to want to get acrylic or gouache or tempera. Watercolors tend to be a little bit easier to clean up. But then there's also, using coffee stain or tea stain or beet stain to dye, their paper at home, or to use that for marks. There's pressed flowers, maybe finding some more natural items outside. Even I've done some prehistoric artwork with kiddos where they're using stick and they're using a little bit of glue or sap with some dirt and they're making their marks with that. So I feel as though we can creatively guide our kids into where they can find, being creative again, going on that hunt, looking for the art supplies in their house so that they can be successful. And then there's brushes as well. So obviously a real paintbrush. And notice I'm using all my old stuff here in my studio. Nothing, it doesn't have to be brand spanking new. So maybe even there's some local artists that are donating some supplies or some items right now. Q-tips. I love me some Q-tips, to do some painting, some mark making as well, some blending. Obviously right here I've also got recycle. These are styrofoam bowls that you get with soup or whatever. I recycle these. And then also got my little paint palette here, which my paint palette has always been the recycled meat trays, right? Just clean them out real well. You can use these for printmaking. You can use these to store your water, store your paints, whatever you need. So there is a list of the essentials. Oh, God, I forgot to show you all this. Okay, this is super duper cool. If all else fails and they've got a little bit of money and they want to order these on Amazon, it's awesome. These are called the blow pens, okay? I don't know if you've seen them, but they're amazing. Literally, check it, check it, check it. It's like your own airbrush. So you take this, you put it in there, turn this way. I would not be sharing this, especially now with the coronavirus. Don't share anything, especially when your mouth is going to be on it. Turn it this way. And, oops, of course I did it the wrong way because I'm on video and that just always happens. So turn it this way. And just like that, you get a little airbrush going. So obviously, the harder you push, the darker it's going to be. The lighter you push, you're going to get a nice gradation in there and value in there. So this is really fun to use on top of anything or as a bottom layer for the art that's getting ready to be made. So blue pens are cool. Again, maybe not the right time for them, but just something to kind of keep in your pocket for when we go back to school, or maybe something that your parents could order right now for the kids to have a good time and see all the different things that they can do with them. And then there's the other fun stuff. There's raffia, there's yarn, there's buttons, there's these tiles, which we'll talk about in a minute. These are tiles that are laminate samples that you get at Lowe's or Home Depot. X-Acto knives, something that some of the older kids might want to have, or maybe their dad has a utility knife downstairs, so under adult supervision they can use those. Feathers, candy wrappers are super fun to play with. Ribbon, pieces of old fabric. Maybe they find some socks and there's only one left, right? What are we going to do with it? Well, I was even going to go there. I was going to say in light of the toilet paper, but we're not going to go there. Shortage. So there's so many ways that we can help guide our kids to be creative with all of this stuff that they need to create. Now, the next big question is, what in the world are they going to create? So in this packet that's called Together We Art Better, now more than ever, I've got 15 lessons in here for you. I'm going to walk you through pretty quickly, because if you're like me, I can kind of look at an art lesson and I'm like, bam, I got it. I'm all springboard from that. I know what to do with it. I don't necessarily need the objectives, the materials, and the procedures, but guess what? I have all of that in here for you. I've got the objective, the materials, the procedures, and then I've got some resources there as well, and some student samples. And obviously this will be downloaded in PDF, so it'll be in color. I just didn't have any color ink when I printed it out. So I'm gonna go over just a handful of these right now. I do think that a lot of these can be turned into 3D lessons if you want to, because they can become reliefs, right? So don't give up on the whole idea of all of these having to be 2D, although I did throw in a couple 3D lessons for you. So the first one is, what is art? I love to do this. This is a lot of the times the way I used to start my elementary kiddos off in the beginning of the year, to have them really think deeply or critically about what art is. And they do it by looking through magazines. And I'm going to go back to that for a second. If you think about it, so many of our kiddos don't ever go through magazines. And I don't know if you've even been through a magazine lately, but there's something kind of cathartic and peaceful and mindful about looking through a magazine. It takes us back a little bit, and it's like, oh my gosh, look at the textures, look at these colors, look at the text, look at these words, and all of a sudden these new pieces of art start to emerge from what's already there. So instead of saying to your kids, okay, I need you to find a picture of a red car, and they immediately go to Google and they print out a red car, or a black and white car and color it in, which is cool, they can go on a hunt. Maybe they end up designing their own red car based on all the red tones that they find throughout these magazines and junk mail pieces. So I'll have kids go through magazine, and as they're going through the magazine, they'll just be ripping out and then neatly cutting later things that they think art is. And then from there, they collage these together to create pretty cool, what is art? This is what art is to me. This is a pretty fun one, because this becomes almost an uplifting one, where they've used some cardboard, a piece of paper, a little transparency overlay, so you can see through it and on top of it. Back in the day, I would have my kids all collage these together to create a big classroom. Like, this is what this class thinks that art is, because they don't have a ton of time to do this, so that if they get 1 or 2 images, but now that they're home, they got a little bit more time. You'll notice this one is even stuck together here with some brads, and just to show you how brads work, and you got a little bit of relief where some cardboard's underneath, so they're coming out just a bit. And then we actually went in and did a little painting on top of that, which you definitely don't have to do. Here's another one where I actually took another collage and hung it off the bottom with a little, stuck a hole in there, didn't even use a hole punch, and some raffia. So that's an interesting piece. And the thing I love most about this lesson is that when your kiddos are done, this is another one that, this is more like a vision board that I did to start off 2020, your best year yet. Just thinking out loud here. But anyway, I used a couple canvases for this and then did almost like a 3-part collage there. But your vision board is sort of a what is art experience, because you're finding things that you have an aesthetic aha to and gluing them down. But back what I was going to say, I think the most fun about these what is art collages is that kids end up going, oh my gosh, art is everything. Art is color, line, shape, texture, space, form. Art is the buildings that we sit in, the chairs we sit in, the utensils that we use. It is nature outdoors. It's the car we drive, the music we listen to. It's the clothes that we put on, the jewelry that we wear. Wow, they start looking through these magazines and there's nothing really in there that's not art. So it's very eye-opening to them to realize that art really is everything and everywhere. So we have huge jobs because we got to teach everything because we be art teachers. Okay, so that's a great one. If you have any questions, by the way, you've got every way possible to get in touch with me. I even gave you my cell phone number. So call me if you need me, because together we are better. All right, moving on. I was going to talk a little bit about the creative color wheel. I did put the lesson in there, but everybody's already sort of doing it, which is so much fun. Everybody's having their kids look around their house and find either the 6 or 12 colors in a color wheel and create these beautiful found object color wheels. And that's basically what my kids did. They designed and created their own color wheels using anything they wanted. It's kind of a more choice-based lesson, but with a couple diameter specifics, like requirements, I should say. They had to be in the round, and there had to be 12 colors, because I did this with my high schoolers. So really cool stuff. So we're going to move on, but you do have that lesson. The next one, which is a great one, I mentioned a little while ago that in this packet, you're going to hear some of my rhythmongs, and that's the way that I used to teach. And believe it or not, I didn't just teach my elementary kids this way. I taught all my kids this way. I took a rhythm, I took a song, I was teaching art with rhythmongs. They're sort of brain-based raps or songs or rhythms that help your kids retain the knowledge that they learn. I don't know about you guys, but when I taught elementary, I had 1,300 kiddos and 59 classes. So I literally saw my kids like once every 9 days. And then when I finally got it my way, I got them 3 days in a row, but then I didn't see them again for a month and a half. I don't know which is better. It was very challenging no matter how you looked at it. But I wanted my kids to remember what they learned. And so I came up with these little raps. So the next lesson is your Dali-inspired landscapes. And I've done a sample on a small piece of paper, a sample on a larger piece of paper. So it's totally up to you what size paper. You'll notice in these lessons, I have some specific information. Change it up. Like, these are your lessons now. So make them your springboard. But basically, this is just creating a horizon line, talking about foreground, middle ground, background. This is just done with crayon. And here's a great reference for you, which I put in your packet. Check out Don Marco, Mr. Crayon Man, or Mr. Crayola, because when kids are like, oh, I'm not going to use crayon, you'd be like, dude, you totally should. And then they check him out, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's amazing what he can do. So that gets them really excited to start practice this layering and playing with crayon. So we do our neutral colors on the bottom, touch of some ochre colors, and then we do sort of a sunset up top. You can add in some geography if you want, you know, coming with islands, archipelagos, mountains, valleys, canyons. And then on the top, you'll notice that this is on another piece of paper where the kids are doing value scale. This is simply a pencil value scale going from dark to light, using your eraser a little bit and creating, like, where's the sun, and creating this tree. It's a very simple shape. And then the most fun is that, you know, we already know what Dali can do. Persistence of memory is an amazing and very popular, you know, famous piece of artwork. But we don't necessarily need our kids all doing. This was a third grader, and he actually did his tree right on here. So there's two ways of doing it. I kind of like it when the tree pops off and becomes more of a relief. Can you all see that? Just have a couple pieces of cardboard underneath there. But he glued down the watch. So melting watches or clocks is fine. But how about if you have your kid, what's your favorite thing? And then they draw a couple of their favorite things, and then they have those either melting from the clocks or hanging from the clocks. I just taught this lesson at our little art center down the road a couple weeks ago, and one of the kids did foxes, one of the kids did her stuffed animal, and one of the kids did ice cream cones. So pretty cool, right? And especially today, like, our kids are missing their norm, right? They're missing their normal. So make this fun. Like when it's done, be like, okay, well, Dali put clocks in there. What could you put hanging from the tree or in your environment that's going to give you peace and make you feel good, make you feel happy? So it's a great lesson. And are you ready? Because I know you're dying to hear it. The rhythm on. Okay. Dali, Dali, he painted oddly. He painted watches melting from a tree. Silly, silly Dali. It's that simple, guys. And again, my high schoolers even loved it, believe it or not. A lot of times my kids would want to make up their own. So that would be a great extension to this, is after they've added in their favorite object or item, have them make up a rhythmong about their piece. Okay, so if you got any questions, holler. But that's a fun one. All right, next one. Love this. This is our, how do we get our kids to remember the elements of art? Large scoops, vanilla, chocolate, tastes so fine. That's right, line, shape, value, color, texture, space, and form. I know a lot of you guys have acronyms that you use for the elements of art. Those are the acronyms that work for me. And then on a piece of copy paper, I have my kiddos almost make a little elements of art study guide. Check it out. Isn't that fun? So right here's their title, and then they've got line, shape, value, color, texture, space, and form. They make art out of that, and then they just add their little definition in there as well. So now they've got this ready to go. Again, just a simple piece of copy paper, and then give them some construction paper, have them make their own ice cream cone study guide. Here's the scoop. Ha ha! My kids remember the elements of art. Check it, check it. All right. So we're moving right along here. I hope I'm not going too fast, but I'm also keeping an eye on the clock because I want to keep you all entertained, engaged, and give you ideas that you can use and take with you. Moving on. Okay, so I don't know if you guys know about Howard Finster. He is a folk artist from Georgia. I taught my entire career in Georgia. In Gwinnett County, right outside of Atlanta. So I use the High Museum of Art and the whole Finster collection quite a bit. Plus, I found that I really loved using folk art with my kiddos because they feel like they can do it. They don't feel threatened. They feel like they're going to be successful. So teaching them, these are artists that are not trained artists. And the results are usually pretty darn good. So I've got a couple student samples here from some 3rd graders and 4th graders. So this is very large. As you can see, we went real large with these and had them all up on the wall. And the thing about them is you're teaching portraiture, simply portraiture, which one thing I love to do when I do portraitures, I'm all like, okay, it's time to measure. Then they get to see my very, very large forehead. My mom's like, honey, it's because you have a big brain, but I keep it covered with my bangs. But the first thing is, teach them, where's your eye? Where do your eyes go? Well, they go in the middle of your head, not up here, because if they're up here, we look like aliens. And then we talk about the measuring, here's my eye. And here's my eye, and guess what? In between is another eye. Okay, now don't move your fingers. This is your ruler here. Turn it like so. Stop it. Your eye is the same size as your nose. Drop the mic. Kids are freaked out by that. So now all of a sudden they're getting sort of a perspective as to where the different facial features go on their face. Then they take their fingers down from their pupil. They go right here to the edge of their mouth, and then they measure here. Your mouth is the same size. Wait for it. Wait, are you ready? As your ear. I know you're all doing this right now, right? Another thing is I do achoo, and as I sneeze, the top of my nose to the bottom of, the bottom of my nose to the top of my lip, there's a finger there. 99.9% of all humans have one finger size width between their nose and the top of their lip. What else? Yeah, the 7 parts of the eye. You've got the pupil, which I like to start with the pupil with my little ones, and then the iris, and then the sclera, which is essentially a party hat or 2 diagonal lines on each side of the eye. And then you've got your tear duct, and you've got your eyelid, and you've got your eyelashes, and you've got your eyebrows. So that's really how I teach portraiture to all my kids. And I taught every grade level portraiture one of the first and second lessons that we did, because I wanted to see who they were now, and then we did it again at the end of the year so we could see who they were at the end of the year and see how they grew. But the cool thing about Finster is that his faces were not very good. They were average. He did a little bit of measuring. He got it a little bit, but he painted, added some bright colors, and then he painted a story, wrote a story. He was actually a preacher. People weren't really listening to him, so he was like, they're not going to listen to my stories about me preaching, maybe they'll look at my art and see gospel on the art. So I just have kids write about who they are right on top of their face. This one cracks me up. This is Boys Rule, Grills Are Okay. So evidently he was in that place where girls, also known as girls, were okay. But I thought that was darling. And he said, you can have it, Miss West. Notice he did a little drawing on here. He drew a little church with some people going in, so I could tell that he was inspired by Finster. Now that one, you notice, was not mounted. This one is mounted. So this one, I actually took it, mounted it on a background piece of paper, and then on a piece of poster board. And then this, it was actually in a Gwinnett County show a long, long time ago, and this student also said that I could have it. But take a look at that close up. You can see the writing there. That's so stinking cute. Gotta love it. Oh, the other thing is when they do their mouth, remind them, mouths are made out of lines. You got 1, 2, 3 lines, not just one line. So that helps a little bit. Now, I do have an extension of that lesson, although that lesson in among itself is awesome for high schoolers. Again, showing them some folk art, some Finster art. They're like, dude, I got this, as opposed to Michelangelo, who you have to show Michelangelo, but then they're like, yeah, I'm out. I'm like, dude, I'm out. Dude was a genius, right? But for high school, what I've done is I've created a lesson that's called Pinspiration Portraits. So I have my kids go and they find 5 pins at minimum of portrait pins that they like. There's something about it. Maybe it's the material, the background, the way they did it, the placement, whatever that they like. And then they use those 5 pins to then create their own Pinspiration portrait. So there's an example of a high school piece. It's pretty good. She did some collaging on here. She's got some really lovely designs on here. I feel as though this one isn't even completely finished, but it's pretty darn good. And then here's a great one for all my AP teachers out there. Hello, can you say sustained investigation? Good luck with that. Well, this is what I did. I had my kids create a Pinspiration portrait journal. And I had them do, I call this a DYD, document your doings. And I've got a little bit of this in the packet, but if you want more info, just give me a ring or give me an email and I'll get it out to you. But basically every day that they're working on it, so this would be something for them to be great to do at home right now, they're writing down their thoughts. What are they learning? What do they like that they've done that day? What do they not like? They're taking pictures, cutting these pictures out, gluing these pictures down into their journal. By the way, all their journals, I had them just hand make them. This is just construction paper and some poster board and some masking tape. Because it wasn't necessarily about this book being this beautiful, amazing thing. It was about this being a great learning tool for them as they're learning what works, what doesn't work, going back and reflecting on their art. So this is exactly, in my opinion, what AP is looking for right now, getting our kids to think deeply about how and why their art becomes what it becomes. Here you can see she's doing some more flat reflecting. Here's her final piece, her final reflections. And then back here, I think we've got her artist statement that she typed up. So this is awesome. And you know what? Why not get your little ones to start doing this too? 4th, 5th, all your middle school kiddos, your intro kids, they can do this. Have them really think about the process of what it is that they're making, because I think that will wow I think it'll wow them. And I think that it's a great advocacy tool because it really does show how unbelievably important visual art education is. All right, we're moving on. Kandinsky inspired prints. This is always fun and it's kind of a really cool math extension if you wanted it to be. The next 2 lessons are. I don't have a finished one here, but you see a finished one in your packet. So basically, I'm just saying to the kids, right now I want everybody to draw 3 circles. And then I want you to draw 4 triangles. And so it's a great assessment tool. Like, do kids know their geometric shapes? Do they know their, amorphic shapes or organic shapes? Do they know vertical lines, horizontal lines, and diagonal lines? Do they know the line families? Whoop, whoop, whoop. I put one of these in there too for you guys. We got straight lines. You break it, it becomes an angled line. You fix it, and then you bend it, and it becomes a curved line. So these are super, super fun for kids to be able to create. And then when it's done, all they're going to do is come in and they're going to paint with their marker, which is really important, by the way. I know you guys probably already do this, but I'm a big, huge stickler for, it's just me in here, and I'm old, so I don't do videoing as well as some of my friends. do. One day I'm going to take a how to make a video class, but in the meantime, it's you and me. So here we go. But I like to teach my kids to take their marker and to paint. Instead of going back and forth and scribbling, I tell them to imagine that this is their paintbrush and they're painting with that marker. And that really helps take their art to the next level by keeping it nice and neat and clean. So they use marker. You can also use crayon. And then also the cool thing is, do I have them here? I know I do. Oil pastels. At the very end of this, and you can do this for a lot of these lessons, they love this. You take an oil pastel, and again, see here, put this underneath there, and you just push down as hard as you can. You got to go hard. Some oil pastels work better than others. And then you take your finger and you push. Can y'all see that? You push, so you're getting a little muscle in there. And what this ends up doing, and I can show you a finished one that I have of the next lesson we're going to do, is it kind of gives it a glow. And if you look at some of Vasily Kandinsky's works, you'll notice that it looks like there's a glow around some of his more abstract pieces. Like check out Composition 8. I have these resources all linked for you, so you can just click on those and go deeper into the study of some of these artists. So that's the Kandinsky lesson. Love it. There's so much you can do with it. You can go big. It makes it really great when you get back to school. Collaborative lesson. So all the kids get done something, and it's like a finish up, and they go and they work on these, and then you glue them all together, and you get this gigantic Kandinsky-inspired piece. You can even do a nice watercolor wash on top if you don't use marker and you use crayon coloring the shapes instead. Okay, and now we're moving on. Oh, by the way, I know you guys want to hear my Kandinsky, so here we go. Kandinsky rhythm. Vasily Kandinsky painted very briskly, colors, lines, shapes. That's what he makes. So again, keep teaching your kids. He's Russian. Let's get that Russian accent. Vasily Kandinsky. Guess what? These kids don't forget Vasily Kandinsky. Okay, so now we're going to do lines in life. And again, there's that line family sheet for you. And this is a great one. I call this hands down fun. So this is sort of like a self-portrait lesson. If they don't want to do self-portraits, guess what? Nobody has a hand like you do. So they trace their hand using Sharpie, pencil, and if they don't have Sharpie or pencil, they can use a black crayon. Why not? Push down real hard. Get a really nice outline there. It's almost like they're making their own coloring book page here. And then they come inside and they add their lines inside, right? So they've got some drips and some curves and some verticals and diagonals, just a cool design. And then they come in and they start to color it in either with marker, with crayon. They can do a pattern around the edge. They can do, party foul, aisle 6. Here I am. They can do a border around the edge and use marker to color that in. And then at the end, they come in and they write a story about who they are. What's going on right now? This would be a great at-home lesson for them to do. Do one of these for each person of your family. Have the kids trace mom's hand. Ask mom, tell me, mom, what are you thinking? Or have mom do some reflecting right now. Or dad do some reflecting. Or siblings do some reflecting. Let the kids do some reflecting. This is a piece that will probably go in a frame forever. And it'll be pretty special to them. Here's one that I did where I just tore the edge out and glued it down onto a piece of paper. Added a feather because feathers are fun, and why not? So that's a great fun lesson. And next up, okay, you guys doing well so far? Let's see, how much time do we have? 33 minutes. I got a little bit more time, so we're going to rush through these. But Moreau masks. I looked in the mirror, and what did I see? Lots of funky creatures, they were looking at me. Okay, what? Yes, that's right, a Moreau mask, Juan Miro. So I think he is a super fun, a super fun artist to look at and to study because he's a surrealistic artist. He's all about lines and shapes and bright colors, these kind of creatures. Kids love Juan Moreau. So have them make a Moreau mask because I know something else that kids love, masks. The only thing they might need, the little ones might need a little bit of help with is cutting out the eyes. So either the parents could, do that for them or have them tear out the eyes and maybe they're a little bit asymmetrical. These are some large ones here, painted in with marker. You'll notice that this is very similar to the hand piece as far as the designs that go on inside. This is one of my kiddos' pieces that they did. And then specifically take a look at his painting, Woman with 3 Hairs, and then have them hole punch 3 pieces. This one has actually 4. This one has 3. There we go. These kiddos have 2. And then just tie a piece of raffia, so it's really great for fine motor skills as well. So that's a super duper fun one. And another cool extension is if you wanted to get into some more art history, talk about, African masks, all the different cultures that use masks and for religious ceremonies. And you could get into a really deep, awesome conversation and then move into this whole 20th century world of doing a Moreau mask. Or better yet, what if you, I'm thinking out loud here, what if you did like 20th century artist inspired masks? So it didn't just have to be Moreau, it could be any artist that they wanted, and then they're creating their own mask. And then for you guys to grade it, they have to get on and they have to put their faces, behind the mask, because they might be more comfortable doing that, and then tell you about the process and what they went through, or maybe give some history about the artist. Gosh, that could be so cool. All right, next is the narrative necklaces. These are those tiles that I was telling you about. So we're going back to that first lesson of just collaging some thoughts. Who am I? What am I feeling right now? Talk about dog tags, that's about identity. If your boys are like, I'm not gonna wear a necklace. And then here's some raffia. You can use yarn, you tie it, and then they can wear them proudly. My kids love these. Even my high schoolers love these. They would wear them, or they'd put them on their backpacks, and they keep them all year. So pretty fun. Yay, narrative necklaces. I've got a lesson and an article in there for you. And then op art relief wows. So this is a great one that actually does become a relief, and this is pretty cool because this is basically scored mat board. So have your kids go to Michael's Hobby Lobby if they can still leave their house. If they can't, then this is something for later. And teach them how you take the X-Acto knife and you cut around each area, and then you lift and peel that top layer of paper up. Sadly, I didn't have any extra of this mat board here on me to show you, but if you really are freaking out and need to know how to do this and what it looks like, just send me a message, or we can FaceTime each other and I can show you how to do it. I've got to call in to our Michaels to get some more of this mat board, because there's some mat boards that don't work as well. Now, let's say that you're like, okay, yeah, no, I'm not giving X-Acto knives to my kids and they're going to be pulling up paper. It's going to be a complete nightmare. Okay, then they can just use pencil, and then they just make a little bee on all the areas with this pattern that's going to be black. And then they create their own op art piece. I look at Bridget Riley for this. Got to get some women artists in there. And then I have them do 3 smaller pieces or 4 smaller pieces like this kiddo did. Add some cardboard underneath so you get these kind of popping off and you get these cool reliefs. Kids love these. Kids all love optical illusions. So then I got a couple more, and I'm going to actually end right now with visualizing vocabulary. You want your kids to show you and tell you that they're learning. What better way than by having them visually show you that they understand the vocabulary that you've taught them. So this is a kiddo's, it's cross-hatching. So the word becomes the art, and then the definition's here, and she's actually done what cross-hatching is inside the letters there. This is a complementary colors one, which is pretty cool. This is, oh, I love this one. This is texture. And notice, this is where I started thinking about all the different materials kids could use. This is just pieces of their sharpened colored pencils. So she kept those and glued them down. This is a piece of lace. This is just some pieces of scrap paper from another lesson. Candy wrappers, yarn, some oil pastel, and some feathers to create texture. So it's pretty exciting. So this is always a great lesson to have kids do. And, a lot of kids want to make a whole book of these visualizing vocabularies. So have them do a whole little mini book of what are the elements? What are the principles? What's your favorite thing you learned in art? Who are the art historians? And maybe they, do Dali and they do melting clocks inside his name, right? You're starting to see hopefully where you can springboard and really move around and play with these lessons a little bit. And then the last thing I'm going to share with you guys is the visual journal, sort of like your little bonus. I feel like right now more than ever, our kids and us really need to be making art and creating every day, reflecting on what we're going through right now. That unknown is kind of scary. So use the visual journal to write and to draw and to add text and to collage. This is a journal that I made not too long ago. It's just made out of a cereal box, pieces of piece of cardboard here, and this is just some folded paper here. And then I did actually do some binding in mine, but you don't even have to. You could just take a piece of, like this one, here's a small one here, a piece of ribbon or raffia and tie it around to hold those pages together. This is a smaller one, just doing some collaging. I got a feather on there, I got a button on there. Inside I've got, you know, some imagery. This is actually one that I started at NAEA 2014. Oh boy, no, I'm not a hoarder, I'm not. And then I haven't written anything else in it. So I probably have about 200 journals. I'm not even exaggerating. It's kind of crazy. But, you know, this is another one where I just have a bunch of thoughts in here. And I think it's always fun to go back and be like, oh my gosh, that was the NAEA board meeting, March 24th, 2015. So going back, seeing some art that you've done and then moving from there, maybe reworking it. So obviously there's tons and tons and tons of great visual journal blogs out there. Eric Scott, Brooke Adamson. Oh my gosh, there's so many. So check them out and get your kids inspired to be creating in their journals. So guys, I think that is about all I've got for you today. Lots of fun lessons, lots of ways in which we can continue to inspire and help each other, because you've got to remember, when we do that, the ultimate winners are going to be our kiddos. And there's nothing more priceless and more important right now than our kiddos, keeping our kiddos safe. And with that, keep yourself safe, keep yourself happy. This is a little kiddo's heart that I found. So know that little h, little e, big A-R-T-U. And I'll end with this visual vocabulary piece from a couple years ago about unity. Unity, the state of being united or joined as a whole. It's more important than ever that we continue to be joined as a whole, working together. And man, how lucky are we to be art teachers. I love you. Thanks for being here, and be in touch. Take care.